Welcome back to The Count. I'm Krisha Lenzo. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey say they've spoken directly with President Trump about the future of federal immigration operations in the state. President Trump later said he and Governor Walz are on a quote-unquote similar wavelength, signaling possible cooperation on the role of federal agents as immigration enforcement remains a flashpoint issue. Joining me to discuss is advisor to President Trump and author of The Real Charlie Kirk, Dick Morris. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Dick.
You know, a few segments ago, you had a woman on in the skeleton shirt.
Yes.
Well, this is my answer to it.
Yes, exactly. A total opposite in terms of fashion choice. But speaking of President Trump and your Trump sweater, if President Trump and Governor Walz are on a similar wavelength about federal immigration enforcement, will Minnesota Democrats now stop resisting federal agents on the ground? What's your perspective?
They should. What Trump has done is that he said, look, there are 1,350 people in custody in many Minnesota jails, Minneapolis jails, who are here illegally. And we want them out. And we should start with them. Let us into the jails. Let us get them out. Let us deport them. And so we don't have to chase people on the street with armored cars and face the risk of violence. And when you look at the fact that the immigration enforcement in the rest of the country has been relatively nonviolent, some marches, some protests, some arrests, but no deaths and no shootings. That seems to make sense. And I think Trump and Frey and Walz all agreed that it made sense. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think that these people will be quietly taken into custody and deported, and Trump will not have had to retreat, and there won't be violent scenes, which, like you're showing on TV now, plaguing the city of Minneapolis or anyplace else.
Also today, a judge denied Minnesota's bid to block Trump's federal immigration agents. Dick, do you believe that this will help the operation move forward or spark more conflict?
No, I think it'll help it move forward. And I think the Trump-Walz deal in discussions offer an exit path, and I think they're both going to use it. I think the larger issue is not so much the fraud, not so much the immigration issue, but the fraud that goes on in Minnesota and the billions of dollars that have apparently been stolen by officials in the state. And this idea of state-sponsored welfare fraud has become so ubiquitous and so widespread in Minnesota that it's appropriate that Trump is really cracking down on this.
Yeah, well, how would you advise President Trump on next actions taken in Minnesota, especially given the optics?
I would go into the prisons, check the IDs of everybody, arrest those who are here illegally, deport them, and then see what happens. I think probably there are not a lot of people who are eligible for deportation left in the prisons once we take 1,300 people out of there. Minnesota is not a Mexican border state. So I think that might solve the problem.
Yeah, Tom Homan is saying exactly the same. Dick Morris, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.